morning, Adrian.
Morning.
You're excited for your first track walk?
Yes, let's do the first lap and my first track walk.
First lap, first half a lap. For you, probably your first couple of corners. Because good morning, comrades. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. And welcome to the yearly recurring series where we are doing track walk. Usually we're doing on the 1st of January, but this time I was, for the first time ever, on a holiday. So we will be going on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, where I'll be talking you through some ins and outs, giving you my opinions, some tips, some reference points, etc. to freshen yourself up, because the track will be open in slightly more than a month time, so it's a good occasion to do so. But first of all, mandatory thank you to our sponsor, the Nürburgring itself. Now, an important disclaimer. A lot of people ask like, hey, can you just simply walk on the track? Yes and no. Right now it is off season, it is weekend, so no construction works are taking place. I also asked the Nürburgring if I could do it, so I could do it. And during winter lots of people just do it, and locals, since they know that you can get on it. So that's the official and unofficial rule. It's still a private property, so if you decide to do it, please do it on the weekend, and be aware that sometimes still some construction truck might send it down the road. And also Nürburgring kindly asks not to bring your dogs for two reasons. A, they make a mess, of course you can clean up, but two, and we've seen it actually quite often happen here, there are lots of debris, broken car parts, glass from broken cars, and your dog can hurt its paw, so better to stay off it. Alright, let's proceed on to the track, and in this case we are entering, that's first, I haven't seen this before. We are entering onto Sabine-Schmitz. As you could have seen in one of the previous videos, currently the first half of the track is completely under construction. So digitalization project where 4K cameras with AI system will be installed. So unfortunately it's a bit messy. But let's go over there first so we can walk you through the lap. And we are now on the straight of so-called T13, the corner section or the track section named after the tribune, the grandstand number 13. This is also where officially the Nürburgring Nordschleife lap starts. Over there is the start-finish line for lap records, or also lap timing if you are doing a full lap of Nordschleife like on RCN. And also this is officially the first turn, the first section when you come from the GP track during the combined layout and you are proceeding towards the Sabine-Schmitz-Kurve. This part of the track has been also resurfaced last year, so it's completely new tarmac, nice and smooth. And when you come towards the track, I always recommend people to brake before the orange barrier. I would say even here, because here you have sort of an elevation change going on, and when your car gets light it's good to brake beforehand so you don't go into full ABS towards the barrier. And then stay closely on the right on industry pool or racing days. Some track days as well you need to watch out, because this paddock is also being used by teams, by race teams, by cars, so maybe someone might be going out on special track days, so be cautious, but you will be made aware of that during track day briefing. And stay right until that traffic light over there, because that is actually a very nice reference point to turn in towards the left curbstone. I'd say I sometimes even recommend to get behind the orange barrier, that you get as close as possible so you have a better turn-in radius. And as you can see, once we are at the traffic light, you have a very nice direction towards the curb, which is a turning point. And you can see also the nice elevation change, the nice camber over here. It's overall a very safe corner, and the corner carrying legendary name Sabine-Schmitz-Kurve, which was renamed after Sabine-Schmitz on 11th of September 2021, I believe. Yep. And after that, you start your fast descent towards Hatzenbach. You could take the curb when sometimes some race cars are doing that. But overall I advise to stay off it, because as you can see it's relatively high. And then you proceed downhill and try to stay or aim towards the middle of the track. As we're walking towards the middle of the track, Adrian just pointed out that they cut the trees here, so you can actually from the public road watch onto the track. or get distracted from the track about the public road. I don't know. Still a bit of snow here, but most importantly, we arrived at the curb, and why I said that you should be a bit more on the middle-ish, because from here you can start turning in towards the edge of the curb to then proceed in a straight smooth line towards the 2-kilometer sign, which is a very important reference point. The 2-kilometer sign is a turning point. I'm quickly gonna show you from here the opposite direction. You see how steep it is, the descent. So you're actually coming here with quite a high speed, so you need to brake before the turning point, unless you are driving a GT3 car with enough aerodynamics. You can pretty much send it flat out, or some Manthey racing equipped cars like GT2 RS. I think it's maybe just a gentle lift. GT3 RS MR probably you can even floor it through here. I need to verify some of the onboards. Alongside the track you can find also some of the white dots, but sometimes they're also randomly here, but most of the times they're being used by racing driving schools to show you these reference points. So in this case it's actually showing you the turning point towards the right curbstone over there, and from here you can take it, well, as mentioned, already go on the gas towards the right curb and then try to run wide towards the left curb. It will be also interesting to see how the construction works or the cleaning up will affect the track grip for the first couple of weeks. So what I'm getting at, of course, obviously after the first few weeks all the dirt and mud will be gone for sure, and I'm sure that the Nürburgring will gonna put some broom, some sweep trucks through it before the first testing days of the race cars. But always please be cautious on the first couple of laps this year to get familiar with the track conditions, track surface and the grip levels. So let's proceed further downhill towards Hatzenbach. As I'm walking downhill from the sign towards the curbstone and then towards the left side runoff area, I notice the graffiti. Some people are gonna ask, is this legal? No, obviously not, because it's private property, but some people just do it. But there's one good thing about the graffiti to keep in mind, because this means this is the part where cars are not driving, because otherwise you'll see something more like this, that it's being scraped off by the tires, by the wheels. And the reason for this, the people who've been watching the channel for quite some time, you know that during the wet days, the wet line is completely different. You need to stay off the dry days because that is being covered by the rubber from the dry days, and in the wet it becomes like ice. So in the wet days you can use the graffiti actually as a reference point where it is safe to drive. So to avoid the inside line, you see like, aha, graffiti is here. So it is not slippery at all. It is significantly more grippy than the dry side. So that could be, yeah, I would say a cheat code to be aware, like, aha, graffiti, so you can go there, unless it's a very fresh one, but most of the times they're significantly older. Some tree that fell down, it will obviously be cleaned up before the start of the season. Over here we have a nice rumble strip. I would say if you're really on it, I'm not saying you should, definitely not, do not try it, but sometimes it's good to use it. Then you really use every millimeter of the track, because here you're already approaching with speeds of close to 200 kilometers per hour by going downhill in a fast line towards the hard braking zone. But since last year, there is actually something very important I need to talk to you about. Before this hard braking zone over there is this left curbstone. Usually just run alongside it, run wide to the right side to position yourself for the corner. But since last year, there was actually some nasty bump that formed itself, and that happens quite regularly because, as you can see, we have lots of vegetation, lots of trees, and then there's one of the roots of the trees growing underneath the track and creates a bump. And in this case, when you're going here over 200 or close to 200 kilometers per hour towards the outside full speed, and maybe sometimes already preparing yourself to do some braking, and here is a bump, it can unsettle the car quite a lot at these high speeds. So be cautious here. Yeah, and just feel itself out. It's quite, I'm trying literally right now to find where it is, but you can actually see what happened when I drove an M2 CS recently, how heavy it can unsettle the car and push you to the outside. Relatively tricky part. As you can see, it's also covered in mud, so again, be cautious here. But important here is that you need to go on the brakes hard, let go the brakes to turn in, because otherwise you will understeer, and then brake again for the second right-hander well, in the Hatzenbach section. Otherwise, if you're going too fast or understeer, there's a nice tire wall over there to catch you. And tire walls create more expensive damage than the barriers. I can tell you that, at least at slower impacts. And if you're lucky and you have nothing else to do, you can also go on treasure hunt, because inside these tires and alongside the track in general, you can find lots of crashed car parts. This tire wall has also been moved closer to the track after the installation of this FIA fence. So yeah, I have a bit of a phobia of that. That's why I decide to go closer or even onto this curbstone over here. Some people say it's unnecessary, but when you look at the really like racing drivers and also the lap record drivers, they go on the curb, on this curb, but it's questionable. I decide to go because it gives me like half a meter of extra distance to stay away from that. Ugh, bad tire wall. Tire wall bad. Guardrail okay. And then we're going towards the last part of Hatzenbach section. Yeah, this section with like, I don't know, almost 10 corners. Everything is Hatzenbach. So in the future, if Nürburgring decides to rename or I would say celebrate one of the greatest names of Nürburgring history with a corner, they have plenty to choose from, I would say. And then over here we have a small rumble strip on the right, and the end of it is actually a nice indication to go towards the left curb already. And then the last two corners of the Hatzenbach section. Very tricky, very important. So first we have here this curbstone on the right, which is again, many people say like, hey, should you take it, should you not? If you take it, you have to be very cautious with coming off it, because there is a bump there. So if you come off too soon, first you will mess up your exit or the entry towards the next corner next to the left curbstone, but second off, it will unsettle your car quite a lot. So try to stay like really beyond, even maybe run a bit on the dirt. Although, yeah, it really depends on the car setup, because there have been also examples in the past where if you go a bit too much on the right, you end up off camber and you might end up also in the wall. So it's a really an advanced, I would say, yeah, I don't know, tactic or so. So stay off the curb completely, and if you're very new, but if you decide to go on it, be aware that there are lots of aspects that you need to take into account. Then going towards the left curb and aiming to go run and wide towards the right tire wall. And as you can see, there's an opening over there because the camera for the digitalization safety system is being installed there. So maybe, nah. I wanted to say that you could use it maybe as a reference point to aim towards, but I always say aim towards the end of the tire wall, because then you have a nice smooth exit. You end up on the right side of the track to then proceed towards Hochheichen. But that is something that we will cover in one of the upcoming videos, because this small section already has been quite some long and we haven't even talked about track names, track history. We can talk about this for hours. So I hope you enjoyed this first part and looking forward to the second one. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, like and share, you know this all. And looking forward to seeing you on the upcoming videos tomorrow, or even better, on this track in a couple of weeks' time when it's open again for everyone. So looking forward to that, and until then, bye.